Okay, so here's a video I never thought I'd actually be doing. So I'm sitting in a 2017 JCW Mini Cooper, and it's a really cool car. So let me get back to the start. So we were looking for a small, economical, good car for my partner to drive to work. We started a new job. We said, okay, let's find a new car. Don't want to drive a SQ7 every day, which makes perfect sense. So we said, okay, let's look at what options we have. Now, for some reason, Mini was not an option at all. She loved them in the past. She'd driven a normal Mini Cooper, but I think last time we went to a dealership here in the UK in London, we wanted to look at I think it was a JCW or a Cooper S, but the Countryman version. And they gave us a diesel to test drive. So I think from that point on, she like, hate minis, they don't like drive very well, terrible, boring, whatever. So it was off the list. So what we were looking for that kind of small, economical, nice to drive every day, a little bit of performance to it, nothing too crazy. So we had, what do we have on the list? We had the Mercedes A250, we had the Fiat 500 or 595 Abarth, and we also had the Alfa Romeo Giulietta, because she just loves the looks of that car. So that was kind of our starting point in terms of our short list. A250 she'd driven before, she didn't like it, so the performance was a bit meh, which on that day, to be fair, she had driven the S3 Audi and we'd driven the Golf R, so it kind of makes sense that, yeah, the performance wasn't as good as those two. Makes perfect sense. So that was kind of scenario number one. We then went to do a test drive of the Alfa Romeo Giulietta, and it was like the 1.7 twin spark, blah blah blah. Again, very interesting car, but it was again a bit flat. And it was a 2017 car, very nice, very dark red, really good looking, black wheels, but it wasn't exciting. It wasn't like, oh my god, I want to get back in the car and drive it again. And to be honest, the salesman wasn't really that keen for us to drive it. I mean, if he had the choice, it would have been just a case of, look at the car, we know it drives, we turned it on the other day, so do you want to buy it? So obviously we didn't. And again, the car, it's okay, but it wasn't like, whoa, we want to have some fun in this car. So then it came down to the Fiat 595, and I kept harassing her all the way through. I was harassing her, saying, just try the Mini, just retry the Mini, I think you're going to like it. And I was just harassing her day on day, because I thought, you know what, the Mini should, on paper, be a good car. It's small, it's fast, it's good handling, all the reviews look good. And we looked at the same option. When I got the Audi S1, we looked at the Mini Coopers and everything at the time, and it seemed like a good option then. But we were like, yeah, the S1 just looked like a crazy car. I mean, it was a manual, you know, 2 litre, 231 horsepower, and it's just a great drive, 4-wheel drive as well. So we're like, you know what, we're getting it. So we kind of left the Mini at the time, didn't really think anything else of it. So then we said, let's put the Mini back on the list. It's got to be something we look at. We're looking at something like the 595. Let's keep the Mini on the list. So begrudgingly, she agreed. We said, okay, fine, we'll have a look at the 595, the Mini. So we went to, luckily, we did it in the right order. We looked at the 595 Abarth first, and that was disappointing. I want to be completely honest, that was very disappointing. We were expecting, you see all the reviews, and the car looks phenomenal. There's such a small, dare I say it, cute little car, and you just want to throw around everywhere, and no, we got in the car. And I think there's a few things with the 595 that we noticed. So first, I think you've seen probably other reviews, the seating position and the steering positions are awkward, because there's no telescopic steering position. Up and down is all you get. So you can't get comfortable from that perspective. I like to sit a bit further back, legs outstretched a bit, and a certain distance to the steering wheel. So you can't do that. You can literally go up and down, that's your option. So that was kind of problem number one for me. For her, it was a little bit more forgiving. She's a bit shorter. But the Big problem for her was the seats. Now the seats, they look quite nice and they're relatively comfortable, but again, there's a lack of adjustability in that car with the seat. So the bit where just underneath your knees, you can't adjust it. You can put your bum bit a bit down, a bit up, and you can go back and forwards, of course, but it was just such a limited range of positions for the seat, you just couldn't get comfortable. So between that and the steering problem, I'm like, there's no way you could drive this every day, because in half an hour, 10 minutes rather, her legs were already hurting because her feet were in such an awkward position, couldn't get comfortable. So for a car that, when we looked at, the showroom, and they go upwards of £30,000, that's UK pounds, so those abroad. And we're like, for a car that is so unadjustable, it looks awesome, gotta say that, it sounds great, but it just has such a limited set of options in terms of adjustability. And this was the automatic version, and for those, I guess, who may have seen or may not have seen, the automatic version of this is a manual gearbox with some trickery to make it into an auto box. So what happens is you're driving along, it's ready to change gear, you get the vroom slow down, and then it goes. Vroom slow down, and then it goes. Now, my partner, she's a bit of a petrol head, she doesn't like to admit it, but she is. And that drove her insane within the first few seconds. She kind of looked at me like, what's wrong with the car? I said, that's how the gearbox works. So that was first problem number one when we got in the car. It's like seats, steering wheel, and what the hell's going on with this gearbox? Now I'm sure the manual gearbox is better, but we don't want another manual car, which is why we're looking at all the automatic options for a small fun car that she can drive day to day, because she's doing more town driving to school and back. She's a teacher, not a student. So we said, okay, not really an option. This car was around, I think, the 20, 22, 23,000 pounds. There were a few there kind of 30,000 pounds. We're like, for that money, there are too many other cars that you can get. You could get the A250, you could get a Golf R, you could get a reasonable age S3. It just didn't make sense. So on the same day, we'd booked the Mini as well. We finally convinced her. I said, let's go see the Mini, see what you think. Her view was, don't like the look of it, but fine, I remember it being quite fun, let me have a drive of it. So we got into the Mini Cooper S. I think it was a relatively new one, maybe 2020 or something, and we set off. Now first up, there's a lot of adjustability in the Mini. That's the first thing we noticed, is that you can adjust almost anything that you need to into a position that's comfortable. The steering is telescopic, which shouldn't be something I'm talking about on the review, but that's quite a big deal. The seats, there's plenty of space to go back. I mean, even for me, I'm 5'10", 78 centimeters, and I can put the seat all the way back, and I can just about reach the pedals. So that's actually quite good for a car of this size. I mean, the car is tiny, but you can get comfortable, and that's for me. Now, again, I'm quite wide, as you can probably see from the shoulders, and I don't have any issue. I've got a nice comfortable armrest here, full of stuff, and I'm comfortable. It's good width, it's good seating position, headroom is good. I'm trying not to adjust the seats because they are manual, and we drive the car interchangeably, and I have to keep going up and down, her trying to get her position and me trying to get mine. So I just leave it at this height, so it's quite close to the ceiling, but I can bring it down a good few inches as well. So really, really good from that perspective. Get in the car, switch it on, and I'm good to go. So that's point number one. Kind of comfort wise, space wise, weirdly good. We've got my son who sits in the back when we do take this car out. We still have the Q7, so we've still got the bigger car with the dogs. But for driving like this, we've got, there's enough space for us to do some little runs here and there. No problem at all. Quite happy with that. So that's kind of looks. So that's comfort wise. Now, second thing is around the drive. Now I was taken back and quite surprised, because when we did the test drive, we were all quite comfortable. There was 4 of us in the car. The salesman was in the car with us. We sat, me and my son sat in the back, and we were quite happy. It was weirdly comfortable. It had enough space, and we were good. So we set off, and my partner, she had a huge smile on her face. I mean, this was the S, not even the JCW. This was just the Cooper S. and it handles well. I mean, all they say about the Mini is they're like little go-karts. Now, I would always have assumed that as Minis have got bigger over time, that has kind of dwindled. They've become bigger, bulkier, heavier, a bit sloppy, and therefore you wouldn't get the same type of drive. No, they're actually really, really good. I mean, it said even in the S, she's with her petrol head mind on, even on a test drive, she wants to make sure the car is enjoyable, excites, excitement, a bit of excitement there, a bit of a buzz, something that she can enjoy driving every day, whilst being practical, sensible, and doing the things that she needs to do, like a bit of shopping, pick up the son from school, that type of stuff. So yeah, on the road it was really good. You know, it stuck to the road. She put her foot down. It was responsive. The steering seemed quite precise, even though it's a front-wheel drive car. Weirdly, they've made it feel quite easy to manage and control the power that you have in it, which is only what, just short of 200 horsepower in that one. But for a car that weighs nearly nothing, that's still quite a lot of power. I don't think sometimes people translate it correctly in terms of kind of power to weight ratio, because they look at it and say, oh, 200 horsepower or less, that's going to be terrible, it's going to be slow, that's going to be lethargic, it's going to be whatever. But somehow, I guess, being a small BMW, which is technically what this is, don't get mad at me BMW fanboys, but that's what this kind of is, they've made it really responsive, they've made it really, handle really well. They made it like just a fun car to drive on the road. But also, it's just a comfortable car to drive. I don't feel like I'm in a tiny little car that is literally, I can probably touch the front and back. I can certainly touch the side door without moving. So it is a tiny car, but it doesn't feel like a small car. You can see, everything. You've got the panoramic roof in this one, which you had in the S as well. And it makes a big difference because it feels airy, it feels roomy. It's weird. It's like a bit of a TARDIS, it's getting there. You're like, this is actually okay for a space perspective. So yeah, so on the drive itself, very, very good. Handling wise, the pickup was good. Cornering was really good. It was a bit stiff on the road and over certain bumps, like you do feel it, but not in a way that some of the reviews suggested. So for us, it was like, actually, this is okay. This is manageable, easy to drive, very comfortable, all good. And my partner had the biggest smile on her face that I've seen in a long time in terms of driving. She loves, she says, again, not petrol head, but she loves the SQ7 because of performance. The GLA 45 she enjoyed, the Audi TTS she loved, all because of the performance and the handling. That's quite important, is the handling. So then, yeah, so that's kind of where we got to with the S. Now the decision was, do we go for an S or do we drop it down a couple of years and go for the JCW? Because my philosophy always is, if there is a better model, try it, see what you think, and then go from there. So we said, okay, actually, you know what? Let's do that. Let's go test drive a JCW as well, see if the extra performance is worth it. But from about 192 horsepower, you jump up to about 230-ish, 229, 231, depending on which review you look at. But we said, okay, 30 horsepower extra, or almost 40 horsepower extra, in a car that weighs nothing, should make a big difference. So we booked a test drive. We drove we actually got a car down from up north into a local centre near us. We test drove the JCW, which is the one we're in now, and it's phenomenal. It's a really good car. I mean, it's fun to drive. And again, generally we've had, for the last few years, we've had C63s, we've had GLA 45, TTSs, the SQ7s, Macan, Cayenne, etc. So we've always had quite big engine cars with high performance. So I was thinking, it's going to be a 2-litre, 230 horsepower, what am I going to do? But weirdly, again, they've done something quite special with this car. They've really made it a performance car. I mean, Not 60 is shade over 6 seconds. Top speed, which is scary, at 155, which, and again, the car this size, you think that's actually insane. But when you're on the motorway, when you hit kind of 60, 70 miles an hour, and you don't actually feel it. And again, that's one thing that's quite weird, is that I was genuinely expecting to feel terrified going over 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, and and you always see people in minis behind you, right up behind you, overtaking on the motorway, and you're like, they must be insane. But weirdly, they might be, but it does actually give you a little bit of confidence that you are stuck to the road, and I do mean stuck to the road. You put your foot down and I don't know if you can hear that, but it just goes. Absolutely just takes off. And that's in mid mode, I believe it's called. And there are three modes for driving. So you've got your green mode at the bottom. Again, I'll show you one video later on. You've got your mid mode, and then you've got your sport mode. But also on the gear stick itself, you've got your drive for your automatic. This is an auto box. You then have your manual mode, and you have sport as well. Now I'm not sure yet, because this is a initial drive. This is first impressions. We've only had the car for a couple of weeks, so I'm not quite sure the difference between the sport mode on the selection on the machine here and the actual sport mode on the gearbox. I think it is adjusts the gearbox, not just the engine tone or note and performance. But it is very, very responsive. I was actually quite surprised, and as I said, it just takes off. Handling wise, absolutely stuck to the road. And again, front wheel drive cars, first couple of days I'm like, what the hell am I doing? How am I going to actually manage this? But again, weirdly, it doesn't feel front wheel drive all the time. It does give you a bit of confidence that you're not going to go spinning into a bush. You put your foot down. The car and its trickery and whatever BMW and Mini have done together make it work. So yeah, I mean, it's again really, really good car. Love driving it on the road. Haven't driven it that much because it's not my car to drive, my partner's car. But yeah, so far really, really impressed. What I will do, we're going to take the car to the car wash in a second. I'll be back on video in a minute. I'll show you around the car in terms of what it is, what it's got, some of the features around the car that we've seen so far. Again, it's only been a couple of weeks, so I don't know everything in all technical terms, but certainly we'll get started with some things that I have seen and the goods and the bads of the Cooper JCWS. Okay, so here we are outside the, just said, JCW Mini Cooper. See a nice little badge there. And again, the outside, I mean, we got the car in black, plain black alloys, which they haven't cleaned very well, but it's one for another video. So yeah, it's a good looking car. I mean, it's, as I said before when I was driving, it's small, very, very small, but it doesn't feel like it at all. Looks wise, it's very cute actually. I mean, key features, you've got the nice little spoiler here at the back. Mentioned you've got some nice black 18-inch alloys, which again, for a car this size on 18s, you wouldn't have heard of that 10-15 years ago. It's got tons and tons of badges everywhere, so everywhere you look you've got JCW badges. Xenon headlights, pretty much standard these days, I guess. Got your nice big vent on the bonnet, and it just continues on. Obviously you've got air vents everywhere. Not sure how well you can see that in this light, but hopefully you'll pick up some of that. So that's kind of outside the car. Now before I jump in, let me quickly show you guys the boot, because that's probably not one of its strongest points. Now if you're thinking of putting a body or anything in here, then forget it, because that's all the space that you have. So it's a really, really small boot. That's one thing to keep in mind if you're looking to get a car like this. And this is not really a car, I guess, for your big shopping trips or proper family car. But you do have, look, you've got a bit more space there. You can see it a bit lower. You see that? Yeah. So that's actually quite a useful thing for storing certain documents or your laptop or something you want to just hide away, or for giving you a little bit more kind of headroom in the boot in terms of being able to put some more stuff there. So yeah, I'm not sure the light's helping me here, but hopefully you can see that. So that's kind of the one major downside I've seen so far. Again, 2 weeks in, boot size not great. Let's have a look inside. So on this car, by the way, you've got all the chrome, little chrome accents everywhere. So chrome handles, you've got chrome around the handles here, around the windows and everything else, around the lights. Inside, it's actually very nice. You know what, I'm gonna go around the other side because I'm right in the light. So here we go. So as you can see, this car, we've got the little mini JCW bucket seats in red and black, which are actually surprisingly comfortable. Very, very comfortable considering what I was expecting. Just roll those back a bit. There we go. Okay, so where it continues, what have we got here? So we've got a really quite cool panoramic roof, which once I figure out how to use it properly, it's going to be awesome, but it's a little bit jittery at the moment. That might be a user error. We've got the Harman Kardon speakers, so here, some in the door, and we also have a few in the back here as well. So just get out the light. There we go. So yeah, nice setup in terms of speakers, good sound, good performance wise from the speaker system. Really nice, easy steering wheel, not too big. I mean, it's just about the right size for this car, I would say. You've got your dials back here, and on this one we hit the nice fancy start button here, which you'll see. What you do have is your infotainment system that comes up here, and then this quite cool little screen that comes up here as well, which, let's see if I can catch that. You've got your speed, you've got a few other things in there as well which come up. So yeah, quite a nice little system from that perspective. Now again, usual mini stuff. You've got all your different controls down here, heated seats and AC and sport button over here, traction control there. As I mentioned earlier, you've got your manual and your sport on the gear stick, and more infotainment stuff down here as well. Now this one does have an armrest, and again, you probably don't realize how much I love a car with an armrest. I'm gonna go around the other side for a second. Jump in. So yeah, as I said, you've got an armrest, you've got a little bit of storage in here, which is great. You can flip the armrest up, give you a bit more space, which is useful because, to be honest, you can't really get easily to the handbrake. Like your arm kind of gets cramped around it a little bit, which is a bit annoying, but it's an automatic. Handbrakes, one for another video, right? So yeah, all good from the cabin perspective. As I said, seat wise, you got enough adjustability to make it comfortable. You've also got this piece here, which brings out your little bit for underneath your knees. Again, quite useful. Automatic lights, as you would expect in a car like this. Now we've got the black kind of piano wood around the doors and around all the different trims, which does look nice. I hear it scratches quite easy, but again, we'll look at that once we've done a mid-term, long-term review. I'll let you guys know how that comes out. Again, I think you might just be able to see the speedometer 0 miles per hour there. So again, quite a nice little screen that you have there. It pops up like you have in a lot of the modern cars. Infotainment system, so again, it's all quite straightforward. So you got all your controls down here, so radio, sat nav, telephone, menu system. Again, this one's got the, I think, the upgraded nav pack, so you get quite a nice little nav system. Media pack's upgraded and everything else, so it's all good from that side. My one little gripe about this is, in some cars you go left to go up and right to go down. This one is reversed. I think that's a BMW thing as well, so that gets a bit annoying from my side as I switch from one car to another. With an Audi, it's the opposite way, so I'm going right to go up and left to go down, which makes no sense to me, but to many people it might do, because it doesn't make a difference because you're going left and right, right? So yeah, all good there. You've obviously got your little storage bit here, which is quite small, but again, it's a mini, so that's what you would expect. You do have quite a useful door card piece here, so again, big enough for my phone. It's a Samsung 23 Plus, so again, quite a long phone, and you can see tons of space there for phones and stuff like that. And you've got cup holders, a few cup holders here, one USB slot here, one aux as well. And in the back, so again, seat space, yeah, okay, there's not much seat space in the back if you're sitting like I do, but you know, my partner in the front, I can sit in the back comfortably. You've got a car seat there, and obviously an equipment bag on that. So yeah, so it's all quite nice all around in terms of the actual finish, kind of the way it's all set out, and all quite straightforward, to be honest. And I do really like this little start-stop button. Let's go take a look at what that sounds like from the back. Sound from the exhaust as well. So that's kind of it. You got your little pedals there, you got your pedal rest, which again is a nice feature from my perspective, a really nice useful thing to have. And that's kind of the main things there. So that's kind of your JCW. Hopefully, yeah, you've enjoyed the first impressions review. As I mentioned, really good car so far. We're only 2 weeks in, so we will see how we get on. I will do a few more reviews on this in the coming probably weeks and months, but you know how I'm getting on, how my partner's getting on. But yeah, if any questions, comments, just pop them in the chat. Thanks for watching.